Here are the top stories for today, July 29, 2020. Malacanang maintains President Duterte presented his plans to ensure the country's recovery from the effects of COVID-19. The palace urges major telco companies to meet with the National Telecommunications Commission to discuss ways to improve their services. The IATF approves the opening of internet cafes and other select businesses under general community quarantine. And the PCOO vows to assist janitorial staff and other employees affected by COVID-19. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Malacanang reacts to the claims that President Duterte failed to provide concrete plans for the country's recovery from COVID-19 during his SONA. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque maintained that the government is already boosting the country's capacity to test, isolate, trace, and treat COVID-19 patients. He added that the government would use available funds to reboot the economy, which has suffered a recession because of the pandemic.
Yung 1.3 million po na na-test na natin, yan po ang dahilan kung bakit nabawasan natin ang pagkalat o mababawasan ang pagkalat. So ngayon po, mas marami na tayong mga We Heal as One centers, mga isolation centers, at ang sabi po ni Testing Sir Vince Dizon, kumuha na nga po raw tayo ng 2,000 hotel rooms para gamitin bilang isolation units. Gagamitin po natin ang public funds para mag-stimulate ang economy. Patuloy po tayo magbibigay ng mga pautang sa mga negosyo dahil alam natin na kapag gumastos ang gobyerno, ito po iikot sa ekonomiya at magkakaroon po ng mga bagong hanap buhay yung ating mga kababayan.
Meanwhile, the national government has ordered 200,000 units of high-flow nasal cannula machines. It is a life-saving equipment used for COVID-19. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said these machines are effective in improving oxygenation for COVID-19 patients and are also much cheaper than ventilators. He also reiterated the importance of transferring asymptomatic and mild COVID-19 patients to isolation centers to prevent transmission among members of the household and the community.
Pagdating naman po doon sa treatment, ang mabuting balita po, alam na po natin kung paano isalba ang buhay ng mga nagkakasakit. Alam na po natin na mayroong isang makina, yung high pressure nasal equipment na mas mabuti daw po kaysa sa ventilators na gamitin kasi ito po ay nagbibigay na ng oxygen doon sa mga pasyente. At alam na rin natin na yung remdesivir, yung Avigan ay nakakatulong din po sa mga nagkakasakit. So ginagamit na po yan ng ating gobyerno. Yung makina po na sinabi ko, meron po tayong order for 200,000 of these machines kasi napatunayan na worldwide na tunay na pong life-saving machines itong mga ito.
Malacanang says President Duterte deserves a near-perfect grade following his recent State of the Nation address. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says he is convinced that Duterte's SONA highlights major key points Filipinos need to know. Duterte's fifth SONA focused on the government's plan to help the country recover. He also renewed his vow to pursue diplomatic approach to resolve the South China Sea disputes, protect human rights in the Philippines, and speed up transactions in governments. Duterte's penultimate SONA lasted for 100 minutes. It is longer compared to his fourth SONA, which lasted for 93 minutes.
Sa akin po, 9 out of 10 ang grado ng presidente. Well, sa akin naman po, siguro, mas yung sa pagsulat ng speech, number 1, mahaba. 1 hour 40. Meron na pong free SONA. Kung ako nagsulat dyan, mas marami akong ilalagay na quotable quotes sa simula at sa ending ng speech.
The Senate on Tuesday passed the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act on third and final reading, a day after President Rodrigo Duterte called for its immediate passage during his fifth State of the Nation address. The Bayanihan 2 bill provides for a 140 billion peso stimulus fund for various socio-economic and health programs as part of the government's recovery plan amid the COVID-19 pandemic. Senate Bill 1564 was approved with 22 affirmative votes and 1 negative vote. Only Senator Francis Pangilinan voted no. Under the proposed measure, 10 billion pesos will be appropriated for COVID-19 testing, as well as boosting the capacity of the Department of Health. 15 billion pesos will be for a cash for work program and another 17 billion in assistance to displaced workers. 50 billion pesos will be used for low-interest loans to businesses in distress, particularly micro, small, and medium enterprises. 17 billion pesos is allocated for assistance under the Plant program. The Department of Transportation will receive 17 billion pesos to assist transportation workers and for the development of a bicycle infrastructure. The measure also provides 10 billion pesos for the tourism sector, 3 billion fund for the education, and 1 billion for the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority or TESDA to train workers amid the new normal. The House of Representatives adopted a resolution expressing its commitment to enact the proposed 66 billion peso supplemental budget of the Department of Agriculture. The lower chamber adopted House Resolution number 925 as a pledge to pass the budget for the stimulus package to ensure food security, food supply availability, and price stability. The stimulus package funds the following initiatives: 31 billion pesos for the Ahon Lahat Pagkain Sapat Alpas kontra sa COVID-19 program to raise agricultural productivity while ensuring food sufficiency. 20 billion pesos for the food logistics plan to make sure that agricultural commodities are accessible and affordable, and 15 billion for the Cash for Work program to assist landless farmers and displaced workers. Meanwhile, the House of Representatives also approved a measure seeking to provide financial assistance to distressed enterprises. The panel approved House Bill 6795, or the proposed Government Financial Institutions Unified Initiatives to Distressed Enterprises for Economic Recovery, or GUIDE Act. The bill proposes to increase the maximum loan guarantee coverage per borrower, reduce guarantee fees, and other similar schemes. It also expands the loan assistance programs and other credit accommodation facilities. The bill seeks to appropriate 5 billion pesos to the Philippine Guarantee Corporation as paid-up capital, 35 billion pesos to Land Bank of the Philippines, and 15 billion pesos to the Development Bank of the Philippines, or DBP. The Department of Agrarian Reform is now accepting online filing of agrarian-related cases. And the Department of Environment and Natural Resources will start the restoration of another wetland in Boracay. More on these from Chris Mundo.
The Department of Agrarian Reform is now accepting electronic filing, processing, and completion of legal proceedings in cases under agrarian law implementation. This is in compliance with the health protocols under the new normal and as an urgent measure to mitigate the effects of COVID-19. All cases involving conversions and exclusions or those under the jurisdiction of the Land Use Cases Committee or Regional Land Use Committee may be filed electronically. Meanwhile, the Department of Environment and Natural Resources will soon start the restoration of wetland number 6, also known as the Dead Forest in Boracay. The said wetland was illegally occupied by the Tumandoks, known as the natives of Boracay. DENR Director Natividad Bernardino said they had to look for a place where they can relocate them based on the directives of DENR Secretary Roy Simatu and President Duterte. The restoration of the wetland will be undertaken by the Lusatan-controlled water concessionaire Boracay Tubi System Incorporated under the Boracay Action Plan. In other news, the Department of Transportation said road drivers are to blame for the incidents of barrier collision along EDSA. The OTR Assistant Secretary Goddess Hope Libiran said, of the minimum 36,000 trips that city buses could have made in the last 2 months, less than 10 incidents are recorded. She says the width of the EDSA busway follows the international standard of 3.2 to 3.5 meters. And even if the width is increased, road drivers can still cause accidents. On Monday, a city bus from MSJ Tours collided with multiple concrete barriers along EDSA Santolan, resulting in both the driver and operator being issued show cause orders by line agencies of the DOTR. On July 17, a bus from Joanna Jesh Transport sideswiped multiple concrete barriers in EDSA, causing one barrier to hit a civilian vehicle while another fell on the road and created an obstruction. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Chris Crismundo.
Still to come, the palace urges major telco companies to meet with the National Telecommunications Commission to discuss ways to improve their services. The IATF approves the opening of internet cafes and other select businesses under general community quarantine. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Alamin ang tamang paraan ng pag-ubo upang mapigilan ang paglaganap ng Coronavirus Disease 2019. Ugaliing magdala ng panyo o tissue. Kung uubo o babahing, takpan ang buong ilong at bibig gamit ang panyo o tissue. Kung walang dalang panyo o tissue, maaaring gamitin ang braso na pantakip. Kung nakararamdam na kailangan umubo o bumahing, agad na dumistansya sa mga tao sa paligid. Huwag dumura kung saan-saan, gumamit ng tissue at itapon sa basurahan. Ugaliin ang paghuhugas ng kamay at paggamit ng alcohol o hand sanitizer upang mamatay ang mikrobyo. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Sa matinding laban natin sa Coronavirus Disease 2019, sugpuin din natin ang pagkalat ng fake news. Huwag magbahagi ng impormasyon na hindi tiyak ang pinagmulan. I-check mabuti ang source ng balita. Kumuha lamang ng impormasyon mula sa mga official channel ng Department of Health. Huwag magpadala sa maling balita. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. Malacanang said telco companies can meet with the National Telecommunications Commission if they want to discuss in detail the plans to improve their services. In his fifth SONA, Duterte said he would take drastic steps against Globe and Smart if they do not improve their less-than-ideal services by year-end.
Marami pong mga batayan yan, no? At alam po na NTC yan. Meron po yung mga drop calls, meron po yung mga, kung malinaw nga ba yung mga tawag, meron po sila mga measurement para diyan. No? Lahat po ng mga bagay-bagay na makakabuti sa taong bayan, yun po ang sinabi niya maging prioridad. Isa lang po yan sa ang telcos.
Meanwhile, the Anti-Red Tape Authority formed a special task force to monitor and strictly enforce the compliance of agencies, particularly of local government units tasked to drastically streamline the permitting process for construction of additional telecommunication towers. On July 23, the ARTA and the DICT led the signing of the joint memorandum circular, which seeks to significantly cut down the processing time of requirements for the construction of telco towers. From an average of 8 months, ARTA aims to cut down the processing period to approximately 16 days across the different national government agencies and LGUs. It also aims to reduce the required documents from 86 to just 35. ARTA Director General Jeremiah Belhica said the special task force under ARTA will monitor the compliance of the different government agencies. President Duterte remains neutral on the issue hounding the franchise application of ABS-CBN Corporation. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque maintained that the rejection of the bid for a new franchise was not influenced by Duterte. Roque reiterated that Duterte has already forgiven ABS-CBN.
Hindi po siya naghimasok sa butuhan sa Kongreso at habang dinidinig po ng Kongreso ang prangkisa ng ABS-CBN, hindi naman po siya umatake sa ABS-CBN. Nanahimik po siya at hinayaan niyang bumoto sang-ayon sa konsyensya ang mga kongresista. Ang franchise is a decision to be made by Congress. Wala po talagang jurisdiction, wala sa poder ng presidente yung magdesisyon kung bibigyan o hindi ng prangkisa ang ABS-CBN.
Despite Duterte's rants against ABS-CBN, the embattled media firm said it is offering its transmission network to help the government air education programs in the coming school year.
Kung gobyerno po ang gagamit, salamat po at baka naman po pwede gamitin yung transmission at yung mga materyales ng ABS-CBN.
The remains of 54 deceased overseas Filipino workers from Saudi Arabia arrived in the country yesterday. Of the 54 dead OFWs, 20 came from Al-Khobar, 10 from Jeddah, and 24 from Riyadh. 39 died of COVID-19, while 15 died of other causes. During the arrival, government officials honors the deceased overseas Filipino workers, saying they endured hardship abroad to sustain their families back home. Caskets of those who passed away due to COVID-19 were immediately disinfected and blessed before being brought to crematoriums. Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello III vowed to relentlessly repatriate OFWs displaced by the COVID-19 as long as government resources permit. Cash aid amounting to 20,000 pesos will be extended to the immediate families of the deceased and another 100,000 pesos if they are active members of OWA. The Department of the Interior and local government said it is looking at the possibility of setting up separate venues for locally stranded individuals who will be sent home based on their region. DILG Secretary Eduardo Año said this is to avoid cramming and congestion of LSIs in one place. Año made this announcement after Rizal Memorial Stadium in Manila, where the government conducted its Hatid Tulong program, was packed with LSIs. It went viral on social media and drew flack from netizens. An estimated 2,000 LSIs are still at the Rizal Memorial Stadium waiting for trips. Año said the national government is eyeing to finish transporting these individuals by Thursday. Malacanang earlier admitted that there were shortcomings in the Hatid Tulong program. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque also echoed Secretary Año's suggestion to set up separate venues for LSIs per region.
Bulag naman ako kung sasabihin kong walang pagkakamali doon. Meron pong pagkakamali doon. Siguro ang gagawin natin ay yung mga hatid tulong, gawin na nating regional. Nang sa ganon, hindi magdagsaan lahat, no? At magkaroon tayo ng social distancing habang nag-aantay ng bus na masasakyan ng mga LSIs.
The Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases has approved the reopening of certain businesses in areas under general community quarantine starting August 1st. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez said the IATF approved the reopening of these businesses up to 30% of capacity. Among those given the go signal are gyms, internet shops, tutorial and review centers, and drive-in cinemas. Other personal grooming services such as skincare will also be allowed to operate except whole-body massages. Lopez said the operating capacity may still increase depending on the compliance of the businesses to health protocols like observing physical distancing, wearing of masks, and checking of temperature. The DTI earlier proposed to the IATF the opening of internet cafes in areas under GCQ. Lopez cited the use of internet cafes for educational purposes. He said his office will also recommend allowing the operation of tutorial and review centers in GCQ areas. In his fifth State of the Nation address Monday, President Rodrigo Duterte reiterated that no face-to-face classes until a vaccine for COVID-19 will be available. Up next, the PCOO vows to assist janitorial staff and other employees affected by COVID-19. And the AFP works to create conditions that would encourage communist terrorists to return to the fold of the government. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Tandaan ang tamang paraan ng paghuhugas at paglilinis ng kamay upang makaiwas sa iba't ibang karamdaman. Basain ng tubig ang mga kamay at sabunin. Unang sabunin ang mga palad at ang likod ng mga kamay. Kuskusin na maigi ang pagitan ng mga daliri at maging ang mga kuko. Isunod ang pagitan ng mga hinlalaki. At kuskusin ng paikot ang mga dulo ng mga daliri sa magkabilang palad. Banlawang mabuti ang mga kamay sa malinis na tubig at patuyuin ang mga kamay gamit ang single-use towel o air dryer. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito. Alamin kung paano ang tamang pagsusuot ng surgical mask. Una, hawakan ang mask sa strap at siguruhing natatakpan nito ang inyong bibig at ilong. Tandaan, ang may kulay na bahagi ng mask ang dapat nasa labas. Ito lamang ang tamang paraan ng pagsuot nito. Ihulma ang nose piece o maliit na metallic strip ayon sa hugis ng inyong ilong. Iwasan ang paghawak sa inyong ilong at bibig. Kung marumi na ang mask, hubarin ito gamit ang strap at itapon ito sa isang basurahan. Siguruhin ang maayos na paghuhugas ng kamay gamit ang sabon at tubig. Ang surgical mask ay dapat gamitin ng mga pasyenteng may sakit sa baga o mga taong mayroong ubo, sipon at lagnat, mga nag-aalaga sa mga may sakit, at mga healthcare at frontline workers. Maaari ring magsuot nito kung kayo ay pupunta sa matataong lugar. Basta't sama-sama at laging handa, kaya natin to! Isang paalala mula sa DOH, PCOO, KBP at ng himpilang ito.
The Presidential Communications Operations Office on Tuesday guaranteed that all employees will be given assistance following their office's lockdown due to active cases of COVID-19. PCOO Secretary Martin Andanar said they have activated the COVID Warriors mechanism, which will ensure that support will be given to those affected by the disease. Janitorial workers are automatically given assistance from contact tracing up to linking for assistance from their local government. In-kind and cash donation drives from other employees and executives are also conducted to augment assistance that can be offered to them. Andanar said they are also appealing to employers in manpower agencies to assist their employees deployed at PCOO and not dismiss them from work. Meanwhile, Andanar said the PCOO is looking for ways that contract of service personnel can still work from home. An electric cooperative in Cotabato City provides free electricity for over 30,000 families for 1 month. Meanwhile, businessmen in Iloilo hail the pronounced financial relief to micro, small, and medium enterprises. More on this and other news from the provinces from Marita Mawahe.
More than 30,000 families have benefited from the Pantawid Liwanag program of the Cotabato Electric Cooperative in North Cotabato Province. The beneficiaries were residential lifeline consumers, mostly belonging to the marginalized sector heavily affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. They will not be paying the electric bill for the month of April when the whole country was under the enhanced community quarantine. Some 3.4 million pesos has been allotted on the first wave of the Pantawid Liwanag program. Meanwhile, the Philippine Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Iloilo welcomed the pronounced financial relief for micro, small, and medium enterprises affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. President Rodrigo Duterte, during his address to the public on Monday, called on banks to extend financial relief to MSMEs for them to cope with the pandemic. The PCCI hopes to have this financial relief concretized, noting the issue on rent and salaries, as well as the health of their workers, are among the concerns being raised by the business sector. A portion of the COVID-19 assistance to Restart Enterprises program extended through the Department of Trade and Industry to MSMEs was apportioned for the PCCI. In other news, the Department of Agriculture, in partnership with the City Government of Tarlac, distributed free agricultural inputs to farmers on Tuesday. This is part of the implementation of the government's Rice Resiliency Project under the Plant program. The DA, in partnership with the city government, has been distributing inbred and hybrid rice seeds with fertilizers to farmers registered in the registry system for basic sectors in agriculture. Mayor Christy Angeles said this is part of government's efforts to boost the farmers' productivity amid the COVID-19 pandemic. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Marita Muahe.
In northern Samar, the Philippine National Police and the local government of Bobon gave a decent burial to 2 members of the New People's Army and 3 residents. Their remains were unearthed on July 10 from a burial ground of the communist terrorist group. The ceremony at Bobon town was witnessed by local police personnel of the 1st Northern Samar Provincial Mobile Force Company and relatives. The PNP asked residents to continue providing information to discover more remains and help resolve crimes. For its part, the Armed Forces of the Philippines on Tuesday said it would create conditions that will convince NPA members to voluntarily surrender and rejoin mainstream society. Military spokesperson Marine Major General Edgar Arevalo said they will work in tandem with the government's frontline agencies who would assist through the Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program. Arevalo said the AFP plays an important role in the whole-of-government approach, which aims to attain peace and development in rural areas that are affected by local terrorist groups. Arevalo was reacting to President Rodrigo Duterte's pronouncements in his 5th State of the Nation address on Monday, stating that the military will play vital roles in pursuing development in the countryside. In our foreign news, Phase 3 trials began on Monday of a candidate vaccine against the novel coronavirus in the U.S. with an expected enrollment of 30,000 volunteers. In a statement by the National Institutes of Health said, the trial will be conducted at 89 U.S. clinical research sites with adult volunteers who do not have COVID-19. The National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases said results from earlier clinical testing indicated that the vaccine was safe and immunogenic. The vaccine efficacy trial is the first to be implemented under Operation Warp Speed, a governmental program that aims to begin delivering millions of doses of an effective virus vaccine by the end of 2020. The vaccine was co-developed by biotechnology company Moderna Incorporated and the NIAID. The U.S. government also backs the vaccine research of the Novavax biotechnology firm and Pfizer Pharmaceutical Corporation. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. Malacanang maintains President Duterte presented his plans to ensure the country's recovery from the effects of COVID-19. The palace urges major telco companies to meet with the National Telecommunications Commission to discuss ways to improve their services. The IATF approves the opening of internet cafes and other select businesses under general community quarantine. And the PCOO vows to assist janitorial staff and other employees affected by COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. To check out more news content, visit our webpage or head on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also watch us on television on PTV4 and IBC13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day and stay safe, everyone.